Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 24, Overall 409 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. As always, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, June 28th, 2024. Less than one day to my 52nd birthday as well. And I'm looking forward to my guest tonight. This is going to be his third time on Live with CDP Sports Talk. I consider him a friend as well. His name is Scott Crawford, Director of Operations for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. And for those who have never been there, I would highly check it out. St. Mary's, Ontario is a little town of about 7,000 people. And it's about, 50 minutes from Guelph. Beautiful little town. And the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, which has been there, I think, since 1994, I believe. Originally, it was in Toronto. It's really amazing there. They have 4 ball diamonds, and recently they just had their ceremony, class of 2024 ceremony as well. So we're going to bring on Scott Crawford from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Good evening, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, Chris. How are you?
Good, and you must be a little bit excited about your Blue Jays. They've won 2 games in a row, and the offense has kind of cranked it up the last couple games.
Yeah, I got my Jays jersey on here, and it's a Mike Saunders jersey, of course, being all-star with the Blue Jays a few years ago and a Canadian fellow. But yeah, we just need to get on a roll. We haven't got on a roll this year. You know, we win a couple, we lose a couple. We got to go win 7 or 8 in a row and get back to 500 and go from there.
Just, hey, as the Toronto Argonauts coaching staff tells me, 1 game at a time, and that's what the Blue Jays should just do. 1 game at a time, 1 series at a time. It's a long season, as you know. It's a marathon.
It is. It's only halfway done, and a lot of teams get in the last week of September. You stay in the hunt, and you talk to Arizona and Philadelphia the last 2 years. They qualified the last couple of days of the year, and they both were playing in the World Series a month later. So you just gotta keep it close and hope September are meaningful games.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of the Toronto Blue Jays, can you tell my audience a little bit about your watch parties that happen at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame this summer?
Yeah, the last Friday of each month, we're going to be hosting like Blue Jay watch parties, just like you said, Chris. And we have a big 10-foot screen here in our visitors lounge, and we'll have the game playing. And it's a free event, and just come on out and enjoy the ball game with some other Blue Jay fans. So there's food and sort of snacks and drinks and prizes, and it's a good way just to hang out with some baseball fans.
Absolutely. And you guys are going to be doing the home run derby, I believe, July 15th, I believe.
Yeah, that's the only one odd day there. It's the home run derby in the All-Star break, which is the Monday night, and that'll be exciting. You never know who's in the derby, but hopefully they'll be crushing the ball into the outfield. So that day, and then the other Friday, the last Friday of each month is for the season. So you got a few more opportunities to come out.
Speaking of that, I wanted to talk to you about the class of 2024 that took place a couple weeks ago. And I wanted to talk to you about Buck Martinez winning the Jack Graney Award, as well as Josh Naylor from the Cleveland Guardians. I almost said Indians, but it's Guardians, winning the Tip O'Neill Award. And how great was that to give him that award at the Rogers Center recently?
Yeah, Josh, we presented the day after induction. It was quite a weekend for us, but Cleveland was in town. Josh, of course, is from the Toronto area, and so his whole family could come. Bo came to the presentation, his brother. It was fantastic. Josh had an amazing year last year. He's doing just as well this year. He's already got 20 homers and 60 RBIs. So he's on pace to maybe win back-to-back tips. But there's been lots of great Canadians playing right now, but it was great because Josh is so close to his family, and have his family there for the presentation was awesome. It was actually on Father's Day we presented it, so it was pretty sweet.
Just amazing in the last decade how good Canadian baseball has come, and how many guys are in the major leagues now from Canada.
It is. Every year we have all-stars and people in the Rookie of the Year talks and MVP talks. From a couple years ago, it was Mike Soroka finishing second in the Rookie of the Year. Vladimir Guerrero's being an all-star. Josh Naylor's probably should be an all-star last year. He's probably going to be this year. We have Tyler O'Neill with Boston and Nick Pivetta with Boston. We call him the old guard. Votto's trying to make his way back, but also James Paxton pitching with the Dodgers, and Cade Smith with Cleveland. He's kicking butt in the bullpen. So there's a lot of good Canadians out there, and there's a bright future in the minor leagues too. We got a lot of talent in AAA from Owen Casey and Tyler Black, who I believe is still up in the big leagues right now. But we get some young talent coming this way too.
I had the pleasure of meeting Rod Black at the ceremony. Obviously, he did a great job as a master of ceremonies, and I'm so happy to see his son get up to the major leagues. And I believe Rod was able to even call his first base hit with the Brewers too.
Yeah, he just happened to be in the crowd, and they were interviewing him and his family when Tyler came up to bat, and Tyler got the hit, so it was pretty cool. And we met Tyler last November, because he lives, of course, near Toronto, and he donated his spikes and his bat from last year to us. So that was pretty cool to get two pieces from a future superstar. So we're pretty excited to add that to our collection over the wintertime.
Thoughts on the job that Rod Black did as master of ceremonies this year?
Oh, he was magnificent. He'd done them before prior to COVID, and then we got him back this year, which was fantastic. He's so good. He's so likable. He's so good with the crowd. He knows everybody and everything about the inductees. We tried to prep him with information, and he already knew the information we were giving him. And then he just off the cuff, he can say things that make the crowd laugh and make the crowd think and make the crowd, enjoy their time. And he was magnificent.
And I believe Rod's part of an ownership of the Intercounty Baseball League's Toronto Maple Leafs now.
Yeah, I think so. Him and of course Rob Butler, who manages the team, and a few others that I'm not exactly sure everyone else, but I know Rod is definitely deeply involved. And we were at their home opener back in May and on Mother's Day, and it was a great event. The team seems to be trying all kinds of new ideas and unique things, and the IBL is a fantastic league. You got teams. Our closest team, of course, is London, but there's all kinds of teams, and there's a new team in Chatham this year. The league's expanding, and it's fantastic baseball. If you live close to a team, you definitely got to get out and watch this great ball and support the IBL.
Hopefully one day we'll get single A and double A baseball back in Canada again, or even triple A baseball.
It'd be nice professional baseball for sure. More the merrier, right? It's very limited now, obviously, with the only affiliated team being out in Vancouver, the J single A team. There's a few other pro teams out in Quebec and whatnot, but more baseball the better. We'll champion any of it and all of it, because baseball in Canada is a good thing.
By the way, I saw one of your posts the other day, some London Tigers stuff, and I was like, I went to a game there in August of 1990. I had a program, but I don't know what I did with it, but they were in London for a couple of years, and I thought that was great. Somebody donated some of the London Tiger stuff, Eastern Division champs in 1990, I believe.
Yeah, it's hard. You think about professional baseball, and London, Labatt Park is the best park in Canada, and it should have as much baseball as possible at it. And they've had a few shots of pro baseball in London. But you just think of like the teams or the players that came through and played the AA Tigers in the early 90s. You talk about, not only like the Travis Frymans of the world that came up to the Tigers and was a superstar with them, but Cleveland had a great team, and all the young Manny Ramirez's of the world and Jim Tomes of the world came through and would have played in London as a AA player, just as a kid trying to make it. And they became, best players of their generation. And so it would have been, I didn't get to any games. I didn't live in this area at that time, but it would have been some fantastic baseball. And you just hope, one day more baseball comes back.
I wanted to ask you this too, Scott. How did you guys come up with a partnership with Left Field Brewery?
Oh, it was a perfect mix. I mean, they're from their name, Left Field Brewery. We have a few board members that live in Toronto and knew them, and so we just sort of mutually approached each other and said, let's try to get a partnership that'll help both. I mean, they've made a few beers after our Hall of Famers, which is fantastic. We've held our event there on Thursday night a couple of years, and Mandy and Mark do an amazing job at Left Field Brewery. They just opened a new facility earlier this year in Liberty Village in Toronto, so west of the Rogers Center, and it's doing very well. And we continue our partnership with Left Field. They were our main beer supplier for induction weekend, so it was pretty special.
By the way, you said Liberty Village. That's not far from BMO Field, and I have Argos season tickets. So the next time I'm in Toronto in July, I'm going to have to stop by there and try one of their beers out.
Yeah, they are close to that field, which is fantastic for them. Good location, and they're really relying on the pro sports in Toronto to go to their establishment before and after the games.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, I was at BMO Phil last week for our Argos game against the Edmonton Elks, and I was at the parking lot where Exhibition Stadium was, and I was able to go right up where the pitching mound was, home plate, and all the bases. And it's like, I wish they'd have a monument or some more plaques recognizing the history on that parking lot site with the Jays and obviously the Argonauts, and having 12 Grey Cups at site, the Vanier Cup, and a lot of rock concerts at Exhibition Stadium.
Yeah, I always think it was a baseball park, but obviously it was a football field well before a baseball field. And there's a lot of history at that stadium. Obviously our beloved Blue Jays from 77 to 89, but there were so many Argos, like you mentioned, so many Argo championships and other events. That was the main stadium in Toronto, right? Other than Maple Leaf Gardens. And so it held tons of events, and it's pretty cool. A lot of the old ballparks do that. They have the home plate or the pitching mound or some bases, sort of marked in the parking lot. Because usually a lot of the old stadiums become the parking lots for the new stadiums. And it's pretty cool that's that. I mean, again, more recognition, the better. I mean, there's all kinds of Toronto ballparks going back to the mid-1800s that sort of have a variety of plaques and a variety of historic monuments or areas that are represented. But again, more the better to keep baseball history alive.
Absolutely, and I love shooting that content as well. And in Chicago, I got to go on the home plate for Comiskey Park, where it was from 1910 to 1990. So I'm a history guy, and I always tell people, check out the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, because I think you guys do a really great job on the history of baseball in Canada, and we have a long history here as well.
We do. I mean, it goes back truly to New Brunswick in the 1790s, right? Baseball was first mentioned, and a lot of people don't think it's that old. A lot of people think, really got going in Southern Ontario in the mid to late 1800s with London and Guelph and Woodstock and Hamilton and whatnot. But baseball is, more than a couple hundred years old, and it's got a lot of history and a lot of untold history. That's for sure. I mean, we're a small museum. We can only tell so much of the history and show off so much of the history. And there's much more history than we can show off here at the museum. And that's why we just try to collect it and preserve it as much as we can.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get into some questions, Scott's. Just quick thoughts on the class of 2024 ceremony that took just place a few weeks ago at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Obviously, Jimmy Key, Russell Martin, Paul Godfrey, who was instrumental in bringing Major League Baseball to Toronto, Ashley Stevenson, considered the greatest female baseball player in Canada, Rod Hisler, who I had the honor of interviewing, great guy, and then obviously Howard Burney, involved with baseball in Toronto for 70 years. And then, of course, Buck Martinez winning the Jack Rainey Award.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to give the Jack Rainey Award to Buck. Sometimes we do it at the Jays games. Sometimes we do it, at the Expo games when they played the exhibition games preseason. But no, it was a great opportunity. And Buck and his whole family is here. There's a lot of people, the Martinez family, here to see Buck being honored. And it was so well-deserved. It's a lifetime award. Buck's been doing it for a long time. He left for a little bit in between, and then, of course, he managed as well. But he's been broadcasting and done an excellent job for many, many years. And our class was historic. I mean, and well-rounded too. I mean, of course, we all know Russell Martin and Jimmy Key. Russell's, one of the best catchers of his generation, and the best Canadian catcher ever. And in my mind, top 10 Canadian player in the history of the game, with his offense and defensive combined. Jimmy Key, he was the guy in the 80s. I mean, him and Dave Steve were the two starting pitchers in the 80s that everyone wanted to watch. And you knew there was basically a guaranteed win when Key was on the mound. He's just that crafty lefty that didn't throw hard, but didn't need to. He still get you out. And you're right, Paul Godfrey. I mean, he had three amazing feats with the Blue Jays. He helped get the team in 1977. He got the Rogers Center Skydome at the time built. That was one of his goals right after they got the team, was to get a dome stadium. And of course, that opened in '89. And then in the first decade of the 2000s, he was the president and CEO of the Blue Jays. So he's had three key areas where he was basically one of the main people in charge of making the Blue Jays exist and happen and keep going. So that was great. Rod Heisler is one of those names you haven't really heard of unless you're a diehard baseball fan and Canadian baseball fan, but he pitched 13 times for the national team, including he was the opening day starter in the 1984 Olympics for us. And you know, he retired because of an arm injury in the late 80s, but over a decade he pitched for us 13 times to represent Canada. So that was unique. Howie Burney, 60 to 70 years in the game. I mean, how do you top that? You know, from an umpire, he umpired the exhibition games in the Pearson Cup. He, you know, he was an executive in Toronto. He was an umpire. Like, he just did everything in the city of Toronto and Leaside for 6 decades, which really helped. Again, it helps the kids play ball, right? Without people like Howie, a lot of kids wouldn't be able to play baseball. So, and then Ashley Stevenson. Ashley Stevenson, she's not the first woman in the Hall of Fame, but she's the first woman to represent Canada who's in the Hall of Fame, you know, from the national team. So that's so very key. That now women are getting in our Hall of Fame. Ashley being the first one, everyone sort of nodded and said, yep, she's the one that should be in first. There's others to follow, that's for sure. Baseball Canada, the women's national team program has been going on since 2004. So there's 20 years of history now to that program. So it's starting to build some nice history. And there's been several players that played a long time and gave a lot and are still giving back even after their playing career. So Ashley definitely won't be the last, but she was a great one to be the first.
Gonna ask you this, Scott. Is there a limit of how many you can put in every year? Like, is it 6? Does it have to be 6, or can it be 2 or 3? What's the numbers? How does that work?
Usually we put in 3 or 4 a year, just the way it works, but there's no limit, right? You need 75% of the vote to get in. Okay. And so it was just, this year was a big class. You know, normally if you look at our history, we're average about 3 to 4 a year over the 35 years we've been voting people in. So, but yeah, no, as long as you get the right amount of votes, you get in, whether it's one person. Like 2022, we only had Jeff Francis get in. And then this year there's 6. So it was just the way it worked.
Can you just explain to my audience quickly how the process to be inducted in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame works, and when do you guys start looking at candidates for the next year?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple process. I mean, people are nominated, and it's all on our website too. People can definitely take a look on our website and check it out. But we have a selection committee spread across Canada, 24 individuals, and they get the information, and then they have a vote. And when you get enough votes, and you get in the Hall of Fame. It's all done over the wintertime, so we haven't, you know, we just finished this year's ceremony, so we haven't got into next year's process yet. But basically it happens, you know, the deadline's December 1st. And once December 1st hits, we start the process again.
Once it's finished, Scott, are you the one that makes all the phone calls to these people and give them the good news?
Yeah, that's one of the best parts about my job is I get to call them. You know, I get to, you know, sometimes you leave messages and you don't really want to tell them why you called because, you know, you don't want to tell them that over a message. But yeah, I mean, I got to call Ashley this year, and she's a teacher, so she was just done teaching a class, and she happened to pick up her phone, and so I told her the news that she was sort of standing in the hallway at the school, and but she had to keep it a secret, right? We tell these people to keep it a secret for like a week until we announce it in the public. So she had to keep it a secret, along with Russell and Rod. And Rod, when I called Rod, he thought I was talking about the 1984 Olympic team getting in the Hall of Fame because they're on the ballot as well. But no, I was like, no, Rod, I'm talking about you. Because, you know, 13 times representing Canada, you know, it's more than anyone. So he well deserved it. And, you know, guys like Russell were extremely excited. You know, there's a difference between Russell, you know, in the back of his mind, you know, expected it should be in the Hall of Fame, where guys like Rod were like, I pitched so long ago, you know, it was just the thing I did, right? You know, so there was definitely different calls, but Russ was Russ is so excited because you look at the past list the last few years when Justin Morneau and Jason Bay and Jeff Francis and Rich Harden and, you know, all the guys who played in that time frame are getting in the Hall of Fame now. And so Russ played a little bit later on all those people because he got to be retired a few years. And so he knew his time was coming. But he had a great weekend. He brought a ton of people with him, including his mom, which was pretty special to have here. And so it was definitely great calling those people.
What I like about your event in the 2 years I've been covering it is not just your current people going into the Hall of Fame, but you see so many guys from the past classes there as well. And it's just such a great environment.
Yeah, we always invite all the past inductees back. A lot of them are busy coaching, being a parent to their kids because they miss some of the time when their kids are growing up because they were playing ball. But yeah, it's always good to have past ones back. You know, they wear their black Hall of Fame jackets that we give them. Fergie was there this year, of course. Denny Boucher, Steve Rogers, Alan Simpson. I go on and on. Gordash, Pat Gillick, Paul Beeston, and I'm missing a few. But of course, we had a great list of Ernie Witt was there and Jason Dixon, and I go on and on. But you're right, we get a lot back, which is fantastic, and it just shows that they enjoy the organization. They want to honor the new inductees, and there's so many. I wish I could just had time to talk to everyone that weekend. You know, I sort of don't really have time to talk to anyone that weekend, other than more than a hi and how's it going, because there's so many things going on. But I know they're enjoying their time, and I see them talking to the other people and talking to fans, and that's what matters because they're enjoying themselves, and that's the main thing.
I was going to say that the 2 years I've been covering it, the weather has been perfect there. And can you just give a shout out to all the people behind the scenes, your staff and volunteers? Because that's a lot of work that you guys put on for that weekend there.
Yeah, I mean, all our staff was brand new at it, from our office staff, Brian, to our curator, Lindsay. We got Alexi and Logan in the museum. And, so it's quite good. We got Ben and Thomas outside on the site, making the site look beautiful. And and Roger as well. So they all experienced induction for the very first time. So it was quite a unique experience for them. And then our volunteers. I mean, we use about 85 volunteers over the weekend. You were here. Everyone with a red Hall of Fame shirt was a volunteer. And right from setup, which starts on the Wednesday through the weekend and clean up on the Monday, I organize about 85 people to help us. And without the volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do induction weekend. I mean, they're important to every museum, to every organization. And that's why we thank them. Well, they all enjoy their shirt they get because that sort of represents, thanking them for helping us. And without the volunteers, there wouldn't be an induction ceremony. So we really thank them.
For those who are watching this live stream or later audio and they're in Ontario area and they're interested in possibly in the future volunteering with them, what's the best way of them to contact you about maybe a volunteer position for next year?
Yeah, just send me an email. It's baseball@baseballhalloffame.ca, and you can find it on the website too. Or we use social media. You can send us a message through Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We're always looking for volunteers, not just that weekend, but like volunteers in the museum. If you love baseball, we need people that can just talk baseball. And with the tourists that walk in the door, we run barbecues and we run other events where we always need help. So I mean, even if you're busy that weekend in June, but you want to help us out, just get in touch with me and we'll find some time that works on your end and we'll get you in here.
By the way, I'm going to be in Buffalo covering the Bisons this weekend, and I make sure when I'm down at Salem Field, beautiful ballpark, I always mention to everyone to come down to Ontario and check out the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and the little town of St. Mary's as well.
Well, that's awesome. And Buffalo has, I think, just one Canadian now playing right now for them, I believe. But
Damian Parmigiani, if I can pronounce his name right.
That's a little tricky. Yeah, no, I met him at the Baseball Canada banquet this past winter, and he donated some items to us, and very nice fella. And hopefully he's one of the guys that gets called up to the show. And if there's no room for him, hopefully he gets traded to another team that can use him in the big leagues because he's a good kid and he's got a lot of talent. And so hopefully he's up on the show very soon.
I believe the Blue Jays have at least 5 or 6 Bisons up on their current roster right now.
Yeah, and they got a lot of good talent, from Horowitz and Clement and Schneider and Barger, and yes. Probably missing a couple, but they're giving the kids a chance to play to see what they can do, and and they're all doing pretty good so far. So hopefully, they do well. Say the season's only half over, so they got lots of time to keep playing and doing well and show the Blue Jay brass that they belong in the big leagues.
Absolutely. By the way, I know we talked about Left Field Brewery, but did you want to give a shout out to some of your sponsors and anyone that's watching this live stream or audio that owns a small business or a business? How can they get involved with the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame as a sponsor going forward, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, some of our main sponsors, I mean, the TD Bank and Bank of Montreal and the Toronto Blue Jays, the Town of St. Mary's Cement, KR3 Bats, Left Field Brewery, we talked about, Fairway Wealth Management. So there's a lot of companies that do help us out, and we're always looking for more, from, you could put an outfield billboard up on our ball fields, to advertise the induction program, to donating product. We're a nonprofit charity, registered charity museum. So we're always looking for support. And again, people just contact me, send me an email, give me a phone call, and we can talk on how you can get involved. There's many, many ways, from big to small, and they all help.
I wanted to ask you this too, Scott. How much work is it involved in looking after 4 ball diamonds there too at the site?
It's a lot of work. I mean, Ben and Thomas are my full-time staff, and then Roger's a part-time fella. The fields go 7 days a week, right? From, mid-April to mid-October. Of course, we get rained out every once in a while. But other than that, they're going strong. We look after our 4 fields plus the field beside us. So we're looking after 5 ball fields. And, between preparing them for games, which to do proper takes a long time to do it properly. Cutting the grass, we have 32 acres of land here. So we're not just cutting the fields, we're cutting other grass and keeping the site looking smooth. When the storm hits and trees fall down, we're cleaning up the trees the next day, which we did this week. So it's a lot of work through the site, and we really take care of it. We spend a ton of money on the site because these ball fields represent the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and they're not just your average backyard ball field. So when people pull up to them, they want to be, the Field of Dreams type fields.
I like the fact that you have the old Exhibition Stadium grandstand seats there too.
Yeah, and that's part way to preserve the old stadium, like you talked about earlier, right? We got seats for the crowd at Cement Field and Rotary Field, and the seats in the dugout at King Field are actually from the stadium as well. So if you're playing at King Field, you get to sit in those historic seats. So it's pretty special in a way. It's just, again, a way to us to help to preserve baseball in Canada. We have the seats here; they're not going anywhere. They'll always be there for the fans to use or the players to use. And again, the parents can tell stories to their kids, and they remember playing, in the 80s when they went down to Exhibition Stadium. They could have sat in those seats and watched George Bell catch that ball to clinch the division in '85, right? So it's pretty special.
I'm old school, but I miss the old ticket stubs because I still have some old ticket stubs from the 80s and early 90s. I even have one Ernie Howell signed for me from my birthday in June 30th, 1985 at Tiger Stadium.
Oh, wow. That's a keeper. Yeah, it's they're not, you can't get tickets basically now in most games and most pro sports. So, they're a collectible item. We have lots of ticket stubs. It's always, I know there's a lot of ticket collectors out there that look for certain games or people's debuts or whatnot, and they've become pretty valuable and pretty important. I think one of the last tickets we ever got was when Joey Votto broke Larry Walker's games played record back in 2022. The Reds printed us some actual game tickets that they don't normally do for their fans. So we were lucky enough to get some real physical tickets I could hold in my hand when we were down in Cincinnati that day. So that was pretty cool. But no, they're definitely unique. And as years go on, they're going to be more and more collectibles that people are going to want. So it's a unique system.
How much has the Hall of Fame grown over the years, and how much? And do you guys still accept donations or people lending stuff for the Hall of Fame as well?
We do. I mean, donations for sure. Lending gets a little complicated and whatnot, but definitely donations. Again, we're a registered charity, so if they're appraised by somebody, we can give you a tax receipt for the value. But a lot of people don't even worry about that. They just want to see the stuff go to a good home. They know we'll look after it, we'll preserve it. We're a small museum, so we only display a very, very small amount of what we have. But what we're doing now is putting a lot of stuff digitally online. We have about 700 artifacts on our website that you can scroll through and see from the comfort of your couch, which is fantastic. And we do put new displays up each year in parts of the museum, so that there are some new things every year. But we definitely still donate. We like people to we don't want people to walk in the door with items necessarily. Contact us beforehand, let us know what you have, and then we can tell you, whether we're interested or not, because some things we already have, and not necessarily that we want duplicates, right, of certain things. But again, don't just let us know and what you have, and we'll chat with you.
One thing, Scott, I tried to bring this up with Paul, who's a big Blue Jays collector. He's a friend of mine, and he was at the event. I was curious to see what happened to that George Bell game-winning home run at Exhibition Stadium, and what happened to some of the bases from the old Exhibition Stadium.
Good question. And I think a lot of the issue is for a lot of times people didn't think about getting that stuff, right? Like the
Back
ball.
then.
Yeah, like we have a couple of bases from Exhibition Stadium. We have a set from 1977. We have third base from 1989, the last game in 1989, and a couple other bases too. But those are the main ones, being the first year and then a base from the last game. And we have several bases from the Rogers Center. But back in the 80s and early 90s, people just weren't collecting it. Like that ball from George Bell's home run, and you wouldn't be able to prove it now anyways. Like if someone said they had the ball, how would you prove that's the ball? Now everything is authenticated, and there's so much technology that they can determine, not easily, but they can help determine whether that's a legit thing or not. And back in the day, they didn't have that, and it's really hard to confirm whether it is, because again, museums are places of proper knowledge and history of the game and accurate details. And so it's some things are very hard to prove that they're the accurate, real thing.
Scott, before we wrap this up, out of all the items there, I know you love them all. Is there one particular item at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame that's kind of your favorite?
Well, I kind of have like 4 or 5. So I'll list them. I'll tell you them in no particular order. But I mean, George Bell. You said George Bell. Joe Carter's historic home run. Right, we have his helmet and the home plate from that home run in '93.
Awesome.
So I mean, those are two, of the things that are Canadian baseball history. You can't hit a bigger home run than win the World Series. Jose Batista's home run was historic. It was in the 7th inning. It didn't win the World Series. It's still one of the biggest hits in Blue Jay baseball. But as far as I'm concerned, Joe Carter's hit is the biggest hit in Blue Jays baseball history. And we have 2 items from that. I mean, you can't argue. We also have an autographed Babe Ruth bat and a ball, which are probably my other 2 favorite things. But there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we got the Pearson Cup here. We got Paul Molitor's World Series MVP trophy. We got Fergie Jenkins and Pedro Martinez's Cy Young Award. So I go on and on, Chris. I don't know if I have one, but I definitely have 10 that I would have on my list to say are my favorites.
Okay. And finally, what are some fun facts about the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario?
Fun facts. Well, I don't know how fun they are, but we're 3,500 square feet big, so not huge, but we're we doubled in size just a few years ago. We have about 12,000 artifacts, not all on display, like I mentioned, but in our database. And the Hall of Fame's opened. We came here in '94. We opened in '98, so we've been here 26 years now. So that's pretty exciting for the town of St. Mary's, and we got a bright future here. The town treats us very well, and it's a small town of 7,000, but it's a perfect place in Southern Ontario for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it's a fantastic thing.
I think you brought this up with me the last time you were on. Guelph was the runner-up for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they were. It came down to us at Guelph. About 12 cities bid for it in the early '90s. We were a little bit late in the game on jumping on board to bid for it, but it came down. Guelph has huge history, of course. George Sleeman and the Sleeman Brewery and the Sleeman ball teams in the city of Guelph were really got going in the mid 1800s, and they called the Canadian champs back then. Of course, it was basically just Southern Ontario because of the travel, but they were great teams, and they just didn't have the ballpark space like we had. We had 32 acres of land donated by the St. Mary's Cement Company. And that really helped put us over the edge because we were able to build the ball fields and have the kids play. And history-wise, I mean, we got the Beachville game and Adam Ford. Guelph has George Sleeman and the Sleeman Breweries and Guelph baseball. So the history of the game is pretty close in the 2 places, but I think the land sort of took us over the top, and we had these fields.
I think if I can find it, I have a picture with myself in an Expos jersey and helmet from when the Hall of Fame was at Exhibition Place in 1987. If I ever find it, I'm going to bring it with me the next time I come to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame to show you.
Super. Yeah. I mean, the history of baseball, the Hall of Fame in Toronto, I mean, it opened in 83, right? And it was incorporated in 82, opened in 83, closed up about 1990. It was an exhibition place. Then it jumped over the street to Ontario Place. There's a lot of history that was there in those several years, a lot of great events, a lot of great Hall of Fame. This is where Bruce Prentice started. So, I mean, without Bruce Prentice, who knows where the Hall of Fame would be these days. And he started the Hall of Fame, and he kept it going for several years. And, there's, I've seen some photos for sure, but there's a lot of history that we don't know about the Toronto days, from photos to events and whatnot. So anything out there from the Toronto days is really cool to see.
Finally, Scott, we're going to wrap this up because I know we get the Jays-Yankees game at 7:07 tonight at the Rogers Center. But what are the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame hours currently in the summertime? And where can my audience follow you guys on social media and your website?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're open 7 days a week the rest of the summer. So right now, right all the way to Labor Day, 10 to 5. So you got lots of opportunity to come out and check us out. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, CDN Baseball Hall of Fame HOF, or just type in our whole name and you'll find it on any of those three. So check us out there. We always got lots of posts going on in social media, and we're doing things like Team of the Week this year, and so you can submit your team to come out to the Hall, or submit your team to be sort of honored at the Hall of Fame or on our social media page. So check that out on our website, which is our website, baseballhalloffame.ca. So very simple to figure it out. But check Team of the Week. Bring your team here for a day at the Hall of Fame. Have a barbecue, museum tour, play a ball game. There's all kinds of stuff going on for kids' teams around here. So check out our website. It's all there, and hopefully we see you this summer.
By the way, quickly, Rogers Center. What's your impressions of the renovations of the Rogers Center they did?
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I've been there 3 times so far this year. Opening day, Jackie Robinson Day, and then for our event induction weekend. And it's amazing. I mean, they've made it as modern as they can. It's still the Rogers Center. We all know the outside of it's a big concrete bowl, but the inside, you wouldn't know it. They've done a beautiful job inside. Renovated, bigger seats, angled the seats better, great concessions, great varieties of food. And if you just want to have a beer and talk to your friends, all those new bars in the outfield are the perfect location.
I'm definitely going to have to get down there to a game. I haven't been to the stadium since 2019, so I'm long overdue.
Yep, you got to get down there and check it out and cheer on the Blue Jays.
Absolutely. Hey, Scott, I want to say thank you so much for giving us some time out of your busy schedule. And again, please, hopefully we'll run into you again soon, and hopefully we'll be back at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame again next summer. And I'm going to try to get up there before then because I really love what you guys do up there, and I think it's amazing.
Perfect, Chris. Thanks for having me on, and we can talk baseball anytime. And yeah, if you're ever back in this area, I know you're not too far away, so if you're ever in this area, let me know.
All right, Scott, have a great Blue Jays watch party, and good luck to your Jays tonight. And I'll be in Buffalo watching your future Jays this weekend as well.
Yeah, those minor league teams are very important. They bring the future, right? So that's cheer on those Bisons, and hopefully they're all in Toronto in the next couple of years.
All right, Scott, have a great night, and thanks so much.
You too. Take care. Thanks.
You too. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed Season 8, Episode 24, overall 409 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. That was Scott Crawford, the Director of Baseball Operations for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. They're located at 386 Church Street South, Post Box 1838 in St. Mary's, Ontario. Phone number is 519-824-1838, or you can email them at baseball@halloffame.ca. That's baseball@halloffame.ca, and their website is the Baseball Hall of Fame .ca as well. It's all on the graphics. And if you guys want to go to a nice little village or a nice little town, St. Mary's is beautiful. And the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, we have such a long history of baseball in this country as well, and a lot of Americans don't know about as well. So please consider popping up to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame this summer as well. And Scott does a great job as the director of operations. Before we go, guys, I'm going to show you an interview I did at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2024 in St. Mary's, Ontario 2 weeks ago with Canadian Hall of Famer Rod Hisler, a pitcher. And we're going to play the interview right now, courtesy of my YouTube channel. Chris Palma here, radio host of Live with CDP Sports Talk on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. I'm here today at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. I have a special guest with me today. He's one part of the class of 2024, and he's a Canadian pitcher, Rod Hisler. And Rod, thoughts on being introduced into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame?
It's a huge honor. It's a huge honor to be inducted with the class I'm inducted with. It's a huge honor to be inducted with the people that are already in here, and I can't say enough to the selection committee and to the Hall of Fame for just giving me and giving my family this weekend. It's been awesome.
Who broke the news to you about getting into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame?
Scott Crawford gave me a phone call when I was driving through. I was just passing Winnipeg, and I got a call from him, and I had to call him back. And you know, if I didn't have to call him back, I would have thought it's just a joke, you know, this Hall of Fame calling. Yeah, right. But I called him back, so he's the one that let me know.
Rod, who were some of your early baseball influences in your career?
Oh, you know, I have to say the guys that I grew up with and just playing as a little kid and growing up with a group of guys that continued to play, you know, little league, but senior little league, and eventually moved into which is Saskatchewan baseball, but like the intercounty league. Those guys kept me playing. They made baseball fun. They challenged me to be better all the time as they got better. So they were probably my first influence. I think when I got to senior baseball, we had a couple of a few older players that were playing in the senior major league baseball league. A couple of them were teachers, and they were good. They were good players. They taught us how to play the game right, and we just continued to learn from them. One player was Roy Rowley, who had played on the national team for a few years, probably 5 years or so beforehand. And he was somebody that, you know, although I never ever thought or considered that I could play at the national level, he had a red Canada jacket, and I always admired that jacket. And through the summer, as I got a little bit better at playing and so on, and I'm still only 16 years old, but he was the one that told me that, you know what, you keep throwing, you keep working at things, and you know someday you're going to have a red Canada jacket of your own. And you know what? Lo and behold, yeah, I did get one. So, you know, guys like him that were a major influence. We had, you know, like a Ned Andrioni. That was an American that came up as an import and ended up staying. We had Larry Tollefson that played and coached for many, many years there, and umpteen other guys that were just great leaders.
How much has the game of baseball progressed in Canada the last 20, 30 years, and where do you see it going here in the future?
I think it's progressed tremendously, as has any other sport in Canada. You know, you can't compare eras, but you know, you look at hockey, it's just constantly getting better. You look at football, our football players are getting better. You look at any other sport, and I don't want to leave any out. You look at women's baseball. Ashley's inducted this year, and you know, you look at women's sports overall, let alone baseball. It's constantly getting better as just the evolution of sport. It's constantly getting better. So Canada baseball is getting better. We have, you know, now we're putting more and more players into the Major League Baseball level. Not that should be the goal of kids, but the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there to play high school baseball, to play college baseball, to play some pro. And for the very few that do move on to Major League Baseball, it's getting more and more. We've seen the World Classic. What was it, 2015, when our Canadian team beat the Americans. You know, I don't care if the Americans gave up or gave us an 8-point lead or whatever. I don't care. We beat them. And so our best against the American best, we competed. So it got better. And in my years that were with Baseball Canada, I think we got better. Just as the young kids coming up, we're better. We had in '84, we had a 19-year-old start the third game of the Olympics, throwing to which was Mike Gardner, throwing to 20-year-old Robbie Thompson against Japan, and handed Japan its only loss as they won the gold medal. So our young guys got better and better, and thus Baseball Canada, our Team Canada, got better and better.
Finally, is there a story behind your number? And is there a fun fact about you, Rod, that fans might not know about you?
The fun fact about my number is when I turn, my birthday is on the 16th of January, so the 16th is the day. When I turned 16, I had an opportunity to get that number. And it started in hockey. So just before my 16th, it was in the fall there, so before my 16th birthday, but I had a chance to get number 16. So on my 16th birthday, I started wearing that for hockey. I started wearing it for baseball, was able to keep that number. I went to university and was able to keep that number with the hockey team, and it continued as such. And I've just stuck with it. So it's just something that I don't know, why, but I guess that's maybe a little bit of a history to it. Something strange about me, or people don't know. I would say that I'm a very quiet person, but I'm very passionate about things that I do, whether it be playing the sports or whether it have been in teaching school, which I did as a profession. But I don't like the spotlight. I don't like the focus on me in particular. I'm very kind of, maybe like a day like today, I'm a little bit shy as to what's going on. But at the same time, this is an incredible experience for myself, but also for my family. I think for them to come here and just see what this is all about. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I think tomorrow being Father's Day, I never really thought of it, but being Father's Day tomorrow, this weekend is so special. We're all going to the Blue Jay game tomorrow. And we got my wife, Lori, and we got the 4 kids and their spouses and loved ones. And we're going to the Blue Jay game together. So, that's going to be awesome. So the weekend is incredible.
And finally, thoughts on the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame?
Unbelievable. The people working here are exceptional people, right from the top with Jeremy to all the way through Scott, Lindsay, the board of directors, the board members that have been showing me around from Thursday night till now are incredible, absolutely incredible. I can't say enough about them. And the whole idea of this is phenomenal. I wish it was possible for a lot of ball people in Canada to be able to come here at least once.
Well, Rod, I want to say congratulations on being introduced into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2024. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Rod Hisler, member of the 2024 Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, had a long career as a pitcher for Canada Baseball and represented our country 13 times, and it was well-deserved. And I want to say thank you to Rod Hisler for allowing me to interview him, and he was a left-handed pitcher as well. Very good career, and again, congratulations to Jimmy Key, Russell Martin, Paul Godfrey, Ashley Stevenson, Rod Hisler, Howard Burney, and Buck Martinez, who won the Jack Graney Award, and Rod Black did a great job as Master of Ceremonies. And again, I want to say thank you to Scott Crawford from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame for coming on this evening. Speaking of Live with CDP, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show to be announced. I'm working on more shows for next week, so stay tuned for my social media pages for updates. The next Small Talk podcast, Season 2, Episode 6, is going to be Monday, July 1st. Happy Canada Day at 7 p.m. Eastern with co-host Marlene Sharp, yours truly, Chris Pame, and our special guest will be Mariah Perry. She's the author of a book called Green Eyes. It's a self-help book about envy and jealousy in people as well. So excited to have Mariah Perry on and to do another episode with Marlene Sharp. So Small Talk Podcast, Canada Day edition, Monday, July 1st at 7 p.m. And I will definitely let you guys know when the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show will be next week as well. Speaking of CFL, we got action on this weekend. Last night, BC rallied to beat Edmonton 24-21. Edmonton is now 0-4 and has lost 3 straight games by 3 points. Heartbreaking loss for the Elks, and they're not like the record is 0-4. They're a better team than that. BC is a very good team. They're 3-1. Tonight, we got CFL action tonight. If you can't get down to BMO Field, 7:30 on TSN and also on TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. The Montreal Alouettes, the defending Grey Cup champs, take on the Toronto Argonauts in a rematch of last year's East Finals at BMO Field. And I'm looking forward to that. And then Saturday on my birthday, I'll be turning 52 on Saturday, June 29th. A little plug there. We have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 0-3 taking on the Calgary Stampeders. Winnipeg is desperate for a win, and that's a big game. And then Sunday's game, we have the 0-3 Hamilton Tiger Cats taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks as well, and that's a big game for Hamilton as well. You don't want to go back home in Steeltown and Hamilton down 0-4 to start the season. So lots of CFL action tonight, and guys, check out my show last night with the Argos public address announcer Adam Goss as well. He does a great job at BMO Field, and he's a great talker and a great guest as well. Finally, guys, as always, if you're looking for your forever pet and friend, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And all the cats, dogs, rabbits up for adoptions are on their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And again, guys, they are doing a monthly 50-50. They have one for June actually coming up. I believe the one for June is going to be announced by Sunday or Monday. It's a 50-50 monthly draw. You can go and get tickets at the shelter, or the best place you can buy them on is through their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And the money from the 50-50 goes to all the programs and shelter stuff at the Cambridge District Humane Society. And come see Apollo, Alpine, and Luna and Solar. They're all wonderful dogs looking for forever homes and forever family pets. And they say you can't buy happiness, but you can adopt. And that's at the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. As always, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Follow me there, Chris Palme, and you can watch this show on Instagram. And by the way, I am on Cameo. If you like a personalized video message or greetings or birthday wishes or whatever, check me out on cameo.com and type in Chris Palme, and I'd be happy to do a personalized video for you as well. Speaking of my website, I have a website on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, they have a 2024 Equinox EV 2RS starting from $48,821, includes a $500 early order bonus and a $5,000 bonus in government rebates. More details at barrycullen.com. By the way, live with CDP merchandise coming soon in August. I am working on a revamped, better and new shirts in August. So stay tuned for my social media for updates on my new Live with CDP merchandise coming most likely in August. Guys, I'm also a content creator. You can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. And again, I want to say thank you to everyone that follows me on TikTok. And I post a lot of content there as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcastings like yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. I've been with them for just under 4 years, and they're a great live streaming service. And if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming, check out StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for more information. Live with CDP Sports Talk and Entertainment Show is the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, and now on YouTube Music. So guys, go to YouTube Music app and look up Live with CDP Sports Talk and make sure you hit that subscribe notification on YouTube Music. Finally, guys, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpame19@gmail.com or text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback, positive, negative, would be greatly appreciated as well. And that's about it for tonight, guys. I want to say thank you to Scott Crawford from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame for coming on here tonight. And thank you to everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platforms and on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. And also to Barry Collins Chevrolet for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. So, yeah, again, the next Live with CDP Sports Talk to be announced next week. Small Talk Podcast, Monday, July 1st, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 on the West Coast, with co-host Marlene Sharp and her guest Mariah Perry, the author of Green Eyes. And Argo Bounce live audio show with Nick Small and myself will return next week as well. The Argo Bounce live audio show is a weekly show devoted to the 18-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts. And again, the Small Talk Podcast is a once-a-month entertainment show with Marlene Sharp and myself. So that's about it, guys. I hope you all have a great weekend. By the way, for people in Canada, Monday, July 1st is Canada Day weekend. So happy Canada Day to everyone in Canada on Monday, July 1st. And again, my 52nd birthday is tomorrow, Saturday, June 29th. And what a better way of spending it down in Buffalo, New York, and at Salem Field, the home of the Buffalo Bisons. I will be doing some media coverage for my company, CDP Media Productions, Saturday night's game and Sunday afternoon's game. The Bisons taking on the Syracuse Mets, the farm team of the New York Mets. Look for my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some player interviews as well. And that's about it, guys. So I hope everybody has a great long weekend here in Canada. And for my American friends, next week is your 4th of July. So happy 4th of July Independence Day to my American family and friends as well. All right, that's about it, guys. Enjoy the CFL game tonight between the Argos and Alouettes and the other games this weekend. And we'll see you back here next week for another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show on WQEE 99.1 FM and sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Have a great weekend, everybody. And again, happy Canada Day.